Hello, everyone. This is Liz. Happy Monday. I'm here live from the Derry Public Library. And today we're doing something a little different from Director Day. As I did with Ennio Morricone, Morricone, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, I'm going to talk about an icon that passed away. We've actually had a lot passing away, but uh, the guy I'm going to talk about has a special place in my heart because he's been in some of my favorite movies, and I'm talking about Wilford Brimley, who passed away on Saturday, August 1st. Man left a long, big legacy in Hollywood. A lot of people who are my age or younger might only know him kind of as a meme. He did a lot of advocacy for diabetes, and that kind of became the diabetes meme. He also kind of got memed into being a real tough guy, although he was that in real life. But he's far more than just the diabetes man and the Quaker Oats man, and that is why I'm going to talk about Wilford Brimley. So let's get started. He was born September 27th in 1934 in Salt Lake City, Utah. Kind of a rough and tumble guy. He actually dropped out of high school to join the Marines in the 1950s and was stationed in the Aleutian Islands. So Semper Fi, Mr. Brimley. After that, he worked. I actually thought that this had to be an urban legend when I first heard it, but it is true. He worked as a bodyguard for Howard Hughes. And yes, that is the Howard Hughes. And him getting into film was kind of an accident. So he was a tough guy, he was a bodyguard, he was a bouncer, but he also loved to ride horses. He loved blacksmithing. So he started out as an extra and a stuntman for Western movies, especially with horse riding. So if they needed a guy to ride horses for a shot of a lot of people riding horses, he would be your guy. And he just started taking bit parts. He's actually in True Grit in an uncredited role. But it wasn't until 1979 when he really had his breakout role with the China Syndrome. So, I mean, he's a guy who really did work his way up in Hollywood. And if you were to ever look at Wilford Brimley, he isn't a guy that definitely doesn't seem to be leading man material, but he does fit into the look of what a character actor is. Not that I agree with this. I think leading actors can look however they want. And if anything, one of the things I enjoy about films from the 70s and the 80s is that people actually looked like real human beings, whereas the 90s kind of ushered in this all the lead actors look like supermodels versus look at a film from the 70s, such as Invasion of the Body Snatchers 78. Wilford Brimley is not in this, but Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Veronica Cartwright, Jeff Gold, they all look like normal humans you could see crossing the street. Anywho, I digress. So, China Syndrome, which is not quite a nuclear fear film in the way that Doctor Strangelove is, but it's definitely a movie that came out in the midst of panic over stuff like 3 Mile Island. Very good film if you haven't seen it, although, especially now that there's parts of the country and different countries in the world that have, nuclear power plants with no problems, look at France, seems a little dated in its fear. So he has another role in Absence of Malice, a Sally Field movie in 1981, and for a lot of genre fans, sci-fi and horror fans, one of the movies he is best remembered for is his role as in The Thing in 1982. I love him in that movie. He plays a doctor who approaches the situation very much so like a medical professional and a scientist, and then snaps when he realizes, oh God, we can never leave this camp. If this thing gets out into the general human population, we're all gone. That great bellowing line of, they didn't want to be a dog, it wanted to be us. I mean, I could do a whole hour on The Thing, honestly. It's one of my favorite movies, but if you were a genre and a horror fan, The Thing is the first thing you think of rather than the China Syndrome. He also is well known for 1984's The Natural. 1985, another huge role for him is Cocoon, which is a very well-loved movie about a bunch of people who live in a senior center. They get sort of a youthful life force from old alien pods and kind of, have a second, it's a very nice movie about kind of a you're only as young as you feel. And what's weird is Brimley was only about 50 years old when he made that film, but he's always kind of looked like a grandpa, so he just fits right in with people like Jessica Tandy and Don Amici. Actually, there was an interview he did where he talked about, he fell in love working with Jessica Tandy. He's like, even though she's about 25 years older than me, which I think is very cute. 1993, he does The Firm, and another favorite role of mine is 1994's Hard Target, which is John Woo's American debut. Stay tuned, I will talk about John Woo one of these Mondays. He plays Uncle Duvet, who, if you've ever looked at Wilford Brimley or heard him talk, the idea of this old Cajun man living in the swamp making moonshine. Actually, wait, stop, that does sound like Wilford Brimley. Although he does the best he can with a Cajun accent, but he is only in that movie for a total of like 30 minutes. However, if you ask a lot of people what you remember from Hard Target, I guarantee you Wilford Brimley is one of the first names they will mention. Even more so than Jean-Claude Van Damme. Actually, if you were an action fan, I highly recommend seeing Hard Target. That movie's a treasure. And he had 1997 with In and Out, great comedy. And his last role was a bit part in this film called I Believe, where he played a pastor, and that was in 2017. So he pretty much worked up until the end of his life. And he also did a lot of spots on TV, including one of my favorites, the Postmaster General in Seinfeld, the episode The Junk Mail. And fun fact, if you're a Star Wars fan, he is a part of the official Star Wars universe. So pay attention, this might win you a bet with somebody. In 1985, he was in the TV movie The Ewoks, The Battle for Endor, a movie I saw multiple times when I was a kid. He plays the character of Noah, once again, this grizzled old man who lives in the woods and doesn't want to be around people. I don't know what it was about Wilford Brimley. He did kind of like taking those roles, and I think that became sort of a something people associated with him, and that he was, grizzled old man who happened to be an actor, which is kind of true. So hardworking, and again, he did Quaker Oat spots, which is where a lot of people know him from, and he did a lot of advocacy work for diabetes. And again, it's kind of sad that he's gone. The thing about character actors like him that I really appreciate is that they bring, I think, a level of authenticity to the role. They don't focus, too much on craft as much as they do. They're just like, this is my job, I'm going to do it. And there are definitely some bigger actors who do stuff that way. They don't get all heady about their parts. But Brimley always had a level of professionalism and charisma that he brought to every role that he had. And there's a reason that in a lot of movies, you remember him. Again, he's one of the most memorable actors in The Thing, and that is a movie full of memorable parts and memorable actors. It's a movie where he's acting up against Kurt Russell, for heaven's sake. So yeah, although he didn't do a lot of work in the later years of his life, he definitely left behind, I think, a great resume, and I do hope that this encourages people to go check out other movies that he's done. Especially, and this is just me talking, some people might really want to go to bat for The Natural. Yes, that was an intended joke, but I would say check him out in The Thing, or check him out in Hard Target, because the man was great in genre work, although apparently he wasn't too much into that himself. But again, I think that's kind of why he was refreshing to a lot of people. He just looked at acting as a job and didn't talk about it that much, but whenever he did talk about his work, it was always a pleasure to hear him. And he seemed like a cool dude. Kind of wish I could have visited his ranch at one point, but I don't know. Too many bugs and too hot, and knowing me, I don't get out in the sun much. But still, rest in peace, Wilford Brimley, and I will be back next week with another director you should know. So I'll see you tomorrow with What's on Netflix, and have a great day.